I need to sit down. That was a double-digit fish. That's a really good sign.
Yep.
What's up, everyone? Scott the TroutHammer here. Welcome to an absolutely perfect summer evening here in Oregon. So continuing my recent trend of giving some love back to my local fisheries. I've been traveling so much, doing fishing outside the valley, that I've been neglecting my local fisheries. We're now in Christian's neighborhood. Who is out fishing with us today? We're back at Cheadle Lake and we're gonna do some summer bass fishing. Now I'm thinking it's gonna be a fast bite. I'm thinking it's gonna be fast presentation all day today, which is why what we have rigged up is what we have rigged up. Swimbait, Texas rig craw, frog, because yeah, it's Oregon, you fish a frog, and a Senko for the same reasons. So we're gonna give some tips on how to use this stuff here in the heat of summer for bass fishing. But before we do, if you haven't already, go ahead, hit that subscribe button down there, notify bell next to us, so you're gonna be the first to see all the great content that's gonna come from this channel. While we're at it, another thank you to all these wonderful names scrolling up to my right. This is why I do the shout outs this way now, because as you can see, the number of subscribers I get a week, it became too much to give the verbal shout outs. So thank you guys so much for your support. You know, this is my way of saying thank you, just showing your name right here during the weekend video. So the water clarity is actually not as clear as it usually is this time of year, at least for this lake. That usually means you have to slow down your presentation a little bit, but I still got the feeling it's gonna be a fast bite today. But like this area here is just Hydrilla City, so I'm pretty much everything I have rigged up should be pretty effective over in this area before we head over to where it's just like, if you're not fishing a frog, you're doing it wrong. As always, we're gonna give tips and tricks along the way, but for now, let's get to fishing. And yeah, my harness once again found its way outside of my bag. Yep, you saw me. There you go, guys. That's a fish. There you go, guys. That's unreal! Oh, this is such an awesome looking fish. Oh, yeah! All right, guys, check that out. I'm gonna start out over here with the bluegill. So some things you want to think about when you're fishing a swimbait in the summer is the bluegill are going to be really shallow. So you want to stick to the really shallow water right next to the bank when fishing a swimbait. You don't really want to make really bombing casts unless you've already fanned out. Then you want to start making those really far casts to cover water out in the middle. Now the swimbait I'm using in this trip is a live target swimbait. It's pretty weedless and I'm fishing in an area that has a lot of hydrilla. So the reason why you see me reeling that steady pace like that is because I'm not too worried about getting hung up. But even still, fish don't just swim in a real steady stream. They don't just like go from one spot to another, which is why you see me popping my rod here, trying to give that swimbait a little bit more erratic movement. But in the summer, in situations like this, you can treat the swimbait as a search bait, something to sort of like get out there, find where the fish are, find where your weeds are. Oh man, I'm starting with a frog over here. Get creative with my camera. Now with the frog, same idea as a swimbait holds true. The bass are going to be real shallow, they're going to be close to the bank, so start fishing at the bank and work your frog sort of at a steady pace back to you and see if there's any fish in that area. If you're going to fish out in open area, you want to look for grass piles and you want to look for mats of vegetation on the surface. Now the key thing to look for when you're fishing those grass piles out in the open is when you're fishing a frog, you want to see those grass piles move. You want to see something move under the grass piles. That lets you know there's a fish there. If not, move on. So we didn't catch anything with the creature bait or the Senko on that fishing trip, so I'll show you this little short bit from a few days prior to filming that fishing trip. So I'm fishing the Senko in weed, just giving it a few twitches here and there. Got one. About a half pound. Fish is a fish. Little guy, but hey. Got it.
Nice.
Little one.
Yeah, something though.
Yep. Ah.
Oh, that's pretty good size though.
That's for a frogfish, that's kind of small.
Well, yeah.
All right, well that's one bass on the frog. I just realized it's also the first fish I've landed on the surface stick. Okay, that was a fish. Wow. I just had something take it right after it hit the surface. Like I hadn't even set my reel yet. There we go. Another small one. Yep. That's two over on that bank.
Yeah, it's about the same size as the last one. Oh, I had 2 hooks in this guy. He was going nowhere. Clean your mouth out a little for you, dude. Not very big, but that's 2 fish on the frog now.
There we go. Nice. Yep. You got your pliers on?
Yeah.
I don't even know if I dropped one.
Oh, through the frog. It happens.
Yep.
Oh, jeez. Oh, no, I still got it. No, I don't. Still, that's when frog fishing's fun. You suck. I was looking at that over there taking place by the lily pads.
Oh, don't get me. I just got hit too.
And something just swung at me right in front of me.
Yep. Mine was about 10 feet out. You go. Put it on the neck.
I need to sit down. Dude, that was a double-digit fish.
Oh my god.
Oh, I'm not even mad about losing that frog. All right, so again, sorry I'm not wearing my harness, but kind of give you guys a update on what just happened. I just had the single biggest blow up I've ever had with topwater, fishing any topwater, let alone a frog. And when I set the hook, there was no like setting the hook on that fish at all. My line just snapped using 50-pound braid, and I can't really show the line, you know, because the low light right now, but it is so frayed and snapped. It's not old line. This is brand new line on this reel. It's brand new as of buying this like 2 months ago. That was a double-digit fish I just had swipe at me. I'm not even mad about losing that frog. I got plenty of frogs. It's just I wanted that fish. All right, new frog, back at it. My heart actually stopped when I felt the weight of the fish, and then my line snapped. Like it felt like my heart did this. Okay, beat faster, catch up, because I felt the weight of the fish. So yeah, I did rig up with a new frog after losing that frog on the huge fish, and we fished until well after sunset. We were fishing until dark. We had a few more strikes, but we didn't land anything else, so nothing really worth showing there. But as you can see from the facial hair grow, I'm actually intentionally recording this outro a couple days after that fishing trip because I wanted to review the footage while editing so I could get a better idea of exactly what happened when I lost that big fish. And I think it had everything to do with the angle I was at and the angle I was setting the hook on the fish and the angle the fish struck. So say this was straight in front of me. I was actually fishing off to an angle like this, and I was facing this way because I'm right-handed. I was twitching my frog with my right arm, and because I was controlling the rod with my right arm. And when the fish grabbed it, it sort of grabbed it like this and turned toward the direction I was fishing from. And when I went to set the hook, I think what happened is I drugged the line across its teeth, and that's when it snapped once the weight of the fish finally became a factor. Because my line was frayed, not like it snapped, but like it had a tear. And with 50-pound braid, I'm really surprised, but I'm not so much surprised with the fish in there. I'm 100% sure the fish in there, the bass in there, have a 100% bait fish diet. Now, I've said plenty of times on this channel, when bass have sharp teeth, that means they have a bait fish diet. They need something that can still grab onto the fish. If they have really dull teeth and they have red calcium deposits up there, they have primarily a crayfish diet, and that's how you can tell really what you should use as forage, matching the forage to catch your bass. So yeah, that would have been handedly a new personal best. My personal best being 7.5 pounds. I mean, that I remember the weight of that fish. I'll never forget the weight of that fish. This fish was so much heavier once I felt the weight of it, and there wasn't any hydrilla, there wasn't any lily pads in the area I hooked into the fish. It was in an open spot, so there was no vegetation that was pulling against my line, also adding to the weight of the fish. I guess I can feel a little happy that there's a double-digit fish in Cheadle Lake that has my frog still in its face. Which just means if I want to go back for it, I gotta wait a couple weeks until the hooks break down and the lure falls out of its mouth. Because it's probably not going to feed for a while. But yeah, in a nutshell, it wasn't as much of fast fishing as I thought it was. I knew it was going to be a big topwater bite. Topwater is supposed to be fast anyway. But I do hope you guys learned something. Please let me know down in the comments below what you thought. Again, if you haven't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button down there and the notify bell next to it so you're going to be the first to see all the great content that's going to come from this channel. And as I demonstrated in this video, if you subscribe, I'll give you a shout out in the video I record over the weekend. But other than that, thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, tips up, tight lines, and have fun fishing.